Welcome back to my Pokémon Platinum Hardcore Nuzlocke walkthrough. In the last episode, we cleared the Psyduck out from Route 210 and traversed through the perilous fog on our way to the historic Celestic town. There, we picked up our most insane held item yet, quickly trashed it, and faced off against Team Galactic's Cyrus for the first time, losing our Drifblim in the process. With the HM for Surf in hand, we took on a grand tour around the Sinnoh region, obtaining some new encounters and stocking up on plenty of excellent items as well. It's time to get back on track now, with our rival up next. The road from Gen 4 Casual to Platinum Master continues. Let's do this. So, a few episodes ago, I saw a few comments regarding Licky Licky and how it can actually pull its own weight fairly well, and I can't lie, I'm a little intrigued now. It kinda sucks that all of its setup strategies are locked behind egg moves, but this thing is just so bulky that running with rest and sleep talk just sounds like a lot of fun. So, welcome to the team, you big goofball. Let's see what you got. We're off to Route 218 and heading straight for Canalave. As far as trainers go, just be careful of the multiple Gyarados from the fishermen, and for the items we've got nothing too much, just some berries and a rare candy. And now we have our next encounter, Shellos, who I actually ran into while surfing by accident. I meant to go for the potential Gastrodon that can be found in the patch of grass on the other side of this route, but hey, this works just the same. This is actually a great time to pick up a Shellos for a couple of reasons. For one, Shellos isn't very good by itself, and you'll have to wait until level 30 to get your Gastrodon. Although, I will say the fact that it pretty much starts out with Water Pulse instead of Water Gun or Bubble or something like that is pretty crazy. Another reason why Shellos / Gastrodon is nice to pick up now is because of how well the line stacks up against the next gym leader, Byron. You'll pretty much resist all of Byron's attacks, and you'll have the advantage offensively as well, with both typings having super effective impact on his entire team. And Gastrodon in general is just very solid across the whole game, just like most of the other ground / water combos. It is slow, but it's got at least one sufficient offensive stat, it's really bulky, and it gets recover via level up just in time for the Pokemon League. I really like this Pokemon. And that's it for Route 218, a nice little route connecting Jubilife and Canalave. And speaking of which, we have finally arrived at our next major city. Canalave is an awesome Pokemon city, with some of the best music of any major town in the whole game in my opinion. It's a shame you don't spend too much time here, nor do you really ever need to return for any other reason other than to go back to Iron Island if you need to. Worth noting that you can fish up or surf for another encounter if you want to, but we've got pretty much everything available here already. Canalave City is also home to Sinnoh's Move Deleter, so now would also be a good time to remove any of those pesky HMs you've been carrying around for a while now. You can also pick up the TM for Skill Swap in the first house upon entering the city. Let me know in the comments if this has any use in this generation. There was some cool stuff you could do in Gen 3 with it, but I haven't looked into it as much in Gen 4 yet. And we can pick up the TM for U-Turn as well by surfing down the canal. But U-Turn will have to wait a minute, as in order to surf down the canal, we first need to cross the bridge, where our next rival battle awaits us. Let's get into a quick team review. Our newest team member in Licky Licky will lead us off against our rival Staraptor, which is great timing as we actually did not have a great special threat to handle that terrifying bird before the Goofy Boy joined the team. Heracross will be handled by Pelipper primarily, but if we need a backup, we always have Infernape as well, of course. Rapidash will be taken down by our trusty Floatzel, Infernape will take out Roserade with relative ease, and our rival's fully evolved starter can be dealt with using either Gallade or Roselia, or both. Whatever is needed to bring this one home. Barry has certainly come a long way since the last time we faced him, but as usual, I think we're fairly well prepared for this one. Staraptor and Licky Licky face off to start the fight, with the bird leading off with Double Team. We go for the Thunderbolt, and it goes through. taking out Staraptor with a single strike. I really thought that it would end up taking 2 attacks to bring it down, but I guess Thunderbolt really is just that powerful. Heracross comes in next, and I'm fully expecting that Brick Break to come out. Perfect time to switch into Pelipper to take the incoming strike. There really isn't anything Heracross can do to us outside of a few crits back to back, as Pelipper is holding a Citrus Berry and has Roost for recovery if we need it. The Night Slash isn't too bad, and so we set up the Fly in response. Thankfully, the Fly connects on our first try, and Heracross is taken out. Barry sends in Rapidash next, which I found very interesting. I was expecting either of the other two, honestly, as Rapidash is definitely his weakest option here. I'm not complaining though, and I decided to keep Pelipper in. I use Roost first just in case Takedown hits too hard and Surf isn't enough to get the job done. Let's see if this kills in one hit. And it does. This unappreciated Pelipper is putting in some serious work. Who knows, maybe we'll actually end up keeping it around for longer than intended. Next up is Roserade, and as I predicted, Barry wants to set up using those Toxic Spikes. He very smartly goes for the second Toxic Spikes on the next turn, as he can't hit us with anything else anyway, and now our Pokemon will be badly poisoned now upon switching in. Luckily, our Fly does connect on the second turn, and it's actually almost enough to bring Roserade down from the full. I'm very impressed considering Pelipper's physical attack is definitely in the mediocre range. And even better, apparently we kept our former Wingle's Quick Attack, which allows us to bring this one home without taking any more damage. Damn, Pelipper is just carrying us around in this one. I was tempted to leave it in for Empoleon just to see what happened, but that would have been quite the battle of attrition. So instead I actually went with Floatzel. And I did this because Floatzel was the only one in my party that I gave a Pecha Berry to in anticipation of Roserade's Toxic Spikes. In hindsight, our Roselia was probably the best option in this scenario since the poison typing will make it immune to those Toxic Spikes, but oh well, here we are. It appears that Brick Break is a 2-hit KO anyway. And no crits have come out in response. Empoleon falls along with our rival. With our rival now out of the way, we head back to the Pokemon Center to box our Infernape for the time being in preparation for Iron Island. I'm doing this to open up a slot for the egg that we will receive once we make it through the entire cave system. Otherwise, you'd have to fly back to Canalave and then go back through the whole thing again, which is totally fine if you want to play it safe and do that. Just make sure you don't forget to come back because you do not want to miss out on this encounter. Before heading over to Iron Island, I grabbed that TM for U-turn I mentioned earlier. It's worth mentioning that you can just buy U-turns from the Veilstone Game Corner as well if you want them. And now, we are off to Iron Island. First order of business here is to pick up the hidden star piece within this rock and to obtain the HM from Strength from our new buddy, Riley. Riley will be accompanying us on our journey through Iron Island, and he brings with him a pretty powerful Lucario. I mean, it's kind of difficult to make Lucario suck. Everything that I said about Cheryl in our travels through Eterna Forest can also apply here with Riley. Iron Island is simultaneously fantastic and risky for grinding experience. On one hand, deleting Gravelers over and over again will net a fairly large chunk of experience per hour, while also netting the player a ton of EVs in defense as well. If you want to train defense, this is definitely where you're gonna do it. However, you need to be very aware that pretty much every Graveler you run into can and will explode if you cannot remove them with a single strike. Be very careful in here. It's nice that Riley heals up your team up after every single fight as well. I'm going to be rappelling through most of this area so that I can save my encounter for the egg that we will receive at the end. But if you want, it's worth noting that you can obtain a Steelix in the wild on one of the lower levels of the cave system. So that's pretty cool. Upon heading into the cave, we make a left and pick up a yellow shard. I think we've got a pretty sufficient amount of these now, and the Protector, which will be used to evolve Rhydon into Rhyperior if you're playing with trait evolutions. Now going back out and over to the right side, we can pick up some common miscellaneous items. and a hidden star piece, which we can turn in for more shards if we like. And now we head down to the next floor of the cave, where we have 2 more stairs to go and explore. On the right side, we've got a couple of trainer battles, the TM for Irontail, which I've never really gotten much use out of just because of how inaccurate it is, and an elixir in the top right corner. Now, down to the left side of the level, we meet up with Riley again, and at this point, he will now follow us and engage in battles with us as well. His Lucario did not hold up as well as I would have liked though, and died surprisingly often to the plethora of fighting type moves used by trainers on this level of the cave. Please take note that when his Lucario dies, he does not have another Pokemon, so you will be fighting the rest of that fight 1v2, which was definitely a bit scary for us as we went through a few of these fights. In this section, we can pick up a Dusk Ball, which is handy for catching that Steelix I mentioned earlier, a Magnet, which will increase electric type attacks by 20%. Is anyone running a counter on how many times I've said 20% in this series? And a Red Shard. I think I may have missed the hidden Iron Plate somewhere in this area as well, which if you go for it will increase the damage of Steel type attacks by, you guessed it, 20%. Before we complete our quest on Iron Island, we move on to the toughest double battle in the entire cave against Ace Trainers Jonah and Brenda. I did not have a solid plan or anything going into this fight, and that is not the mindset you should have here. This team is rough, and again, if Lucario goes down, you will be forced into a 1v2 for literally the rest of the fight. So have a goddamn plan. For us, the Lopunny and Quagsire did go down fairly easily. However, Medicham's high jump kick takes Lucario out, and now I've got to tackle 4 more Pokemon by myself. Speaking of that high jump kick, I used fast forward way too liberally in the beginning of this fight and only realized that this is what happened to Lucario after rewatching the recording. So, at the time, I stupidly switched into our Licky Licky because I thought his bulk would be the best chance we had of getting through the rest of this fight. Little did I know, it would accidentally become our strategic sacrifice in this battle. Not gonna lie, at this point, I was pretty much in panic mode, as there was not a lot of great options here. After thinking about it for a minute, I settled on Pelipper to see if I could at least take out the Medicham with Surf. Pelipper is far more expendable to me compared to the rest of the squad, so I was okay with losing it here if I had to. Staraptor's takedown isn't too bad thanks to Pelipper's physical bulk, and thankfully we are also faster than this Medicham. Surf is able to take it down and bring Staraptor really low. I stayed in on the next turn and went for another Surf. The incoming takedown misses. And a single Surf is enough to bring both Pokemon down. With only Hippopotas left, Pelipper is once again able to save our asses. I cannot believe I allowed myself to lose another Pokemon to another random trainer. These fights are no joke in this game, and this is the whole reason I decided to go over them with a little more detail throughout the walkthrough. Sorry, Licky Licky, you never had a chance to really shine. After the fight is over, Riley and I take on a couple of Galactic Grunts, which luckily you do not have to prepare for as they are a piece of cake. And now that we have reached the end of the cave, we part ways with Riley and he leaves us with our next encounter. If you haven't guessed it already, this egg will hatch into a Riolu, which is the baby stage for none other than Lucario. Lucario is insanely good in any run of Pokemon Platinum. One of the best class cannons out there, honestly. A fantastic mixed attacker with great speed and supremely powerful moveset options. And the best part? It's a friendship evolution, so you get Lucario basically immediately if you put in the steps. It gets Close Combat, Dragon Pulse, and Aura Sphere in its Level Up Learn set. Aura Sphere, for those of you that don't know, is a 90 base power special attack that can't miss. And it's Stab for Lucario. So yeah, but it also just happens to get Calm Mind and Bulk Up as potential setup options. It happens to get Earthquake, Psychic, Shadow Ball, Brick Break, Drain Punch, Shadow Claw, Stone Edge, Dark Pulse, Rock Slide, Poison Jab, and Flash Cannon. And holy shit, that is a crazy coverage list. You ever wanted a Pokemon that's really fast, hits really hard with any single attack, and literally just gets any attack it wants? Well, I've got the Pokemon for you. I haven't decided if I wanted to use it yet or not in this run. I'm leaning towards no, just because we've already got 2 fighting type slots in our party. Moving on to the final few pickups before we say goodbye to Iron Island, in the last 2 rooms we can pick up the Shiny Stone, which will allow us to finally evolve our Rosalia, a metal coat in the next room, along with a hidden nugget for some extra money. It's back to Canalave City, where our fallen friend will take its place with the rest of the fallen. And with Infernape and Bronzong back on the team, let's evolve this Rosalia so it can really show the world what it is truly capable of. Worth noting that I am skipping out on learning Synthesis via level up, as I think I'm going to go with a more offensive approach with this Roserade. I always have the option to learn it again via Move Tutor if I change my mind later. With the team basically all leveled up from our trip to Iron Island, it's time for the fight for badge number 6. Let's get into a quick team review for Byron. Alright, are you guys ready for this brilliant strategy? I'm gonna blow your freaking mind. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if your jaws hit the floor in pure astonishment and, okay, no, I'm simply going to remove the lock and key from Infernape's cage and unleash our fire monkey from hell. I've equipped the wise glasses just in case Steelix has a nature that favors special defense, but otherwise, let's get into Byron's devastation. And you know what? I'm not even gonna narrate over this one. Let's just watch together. Man, it feels so good to finally wreak havoc with our ace. We are awarded with our 6th gym badge and the TM for Flash Cannon. And with that, this episode is now over. We may have lost another team member this episode, but we continue to make great progress, with another win against Barry under our belt and another badge to go with it. In the next one, we've got some pretty heavy story elements coming up involving Team Galactic, Mount Coronet, and the snowy routes to the north. In the meantime, as usual, please like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more content like this. That's it from me. I'll see you next time.